Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race and Strategy Guide. We're off the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit and we are in the Group 4 machinery. Now this is a fairly popular combination. We do this one on a fairly regular basis, although it has been 6 months since we last did Group 4 around Brands Hatch GP circuit in Daily Race C. The settings are very similar to that time as well. I'll go through what has changed as we go through them, but it's still 11 laps. It was 11 laps last time. Tyre is at times 4, fuel is at times 1. Last time we did have the tyrewear at times 5, but there has been a change, obviously, the tyrewear model in the interim. Racing medium tyres, there is a mandatory pit stop, BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, slipstream is real, and we just have the brake balance for our settings. Last time we did have the differential and the suspension settings, but this time just the brake balance, which I think is probably a good move. So we're going to jump into the race here. We are in the Genesis G70 and we have a lot of the usual suspects in this race, as we normally do when we do the guide on Monday morning. Got Tidgney and Max Power in front of us, we've got Shelty up ahead, we've got Brown Banana and a few other familiar names as well. Interesting, I thought when I seen the selection of cars here that most people were not in a four-wheel drive car. I thought, given that we had Brands Hatch Indy the week before, a lot of people would have been in the G70 or the GTR, but there is a couple of them, but we are certainly not overpopulated by four-wheel drive cars for this very first race anyway. Actually, I'd probably say the Renault Megane Trophy, a couple of which you can see just ahead of us, are probably the most popular choice. Max Power, of course, in his Porsche, and having a little bit of a wiggle on there as we exit turn 3, was going to allow us to go down the inside there. I did think about going for the move on Tidgney, but we weren't really alongside and just held both of us up had we poked the nose in there. And you know, don't want to be a hypocrite. I criticise people for putting their nose in where it's not welcome, so no point me doing that either. So coming round the fast right-hander here, I am terrible for knowing the names of the corners at Brands Hatch. I really should know them, but we are going to go round the outside of Forever Cursed. He gave us loads and loads of space, to be fair to them, so I appreciate that. And that's going to move us up into P12. So pretty decent opening lap here. And come towards the end of the lap, we are 5.7 seconds off the lead, and I was kind of curious how many people were going to pit here at the end of lap 1. I definitely thought there'd be a couple, but I was fairly surprised to see that Tidgney was the only one to dive in there to do the lap 1 strategy. Obviously not going to change the tyres there, and maybe he's done a little bit of practice and he knew that no tyre change was required. I had done a few laps over the course of Sunday, so I had a pretty good idea that the no tyre change was the way to go. We moved up into P11 there as somebody spun off at the uphill left-hander, and then we're going to take P9 as we go down the inside of the Alfa Romeo. This Genesis G70 feels very, very nice round here, by the way. Very nice indeed. I suspect this might become the car, to be honest with you, because it is very, very quick, or seemed very, very quick in this race anyway. This was a little bit of a strange one because we kind of actually took a little bit of avoiding action on Metal Ape Racer there in the 4C. Now, there was no contact on my screen, so apologies to Metal Ape Racer if we did make contact with them, but I just thought they kind of broke late. We went for the overtake, we moved up into P8. And then a little bit later we catch up with Dutchy GT7. We're going to try and go round the outside here. We didn't really intend going round the outside, but they kind of so cautiously, I think they just wanted to let us through. So that was appreciated, and it does move us up into our natural habitat of P Wombo, better known as P7. Jumping forward here to lap 5, we caught up to Muscafi in the Renault Megane Trophy, and I decided I was going to come into the pits here rather than be held up. Now looking at the tyre wear, you can see tyre wear has not become an issue at this point, so we're not going to change the tyres. Of course, always be very careful of coming into the pit lane, and do note that Shelty has come in front of us as well, and he was around about 3 seconds ahead of us, so we're not going to change the tyres here. Brands Hatch always has a very quick pit stop, and as we exit the pits you can see we are right behind Shelty, so we've gained around about 2.5 seconds there on Shelty, who has changed the tyres. I did check at the end. I wasn't aware at the time, but it became more and more obvious as the race went on that Shelty had changed the tyres. So your pit loss is about 8 seconds for not changing the tyres. If you do change the tyres, it's about 10.5 to 11 seconds. Very quick pit stop at Brands Hatch as always. So coming through towards the end of lap 7 here, we were putting Shelty under a lot of pressure. As I said, I feel this G70 was just absolutely made for this track. I don't think it was any kind of great pace on my part. I just think the car is probably the car we're going to see a lot of this week. I could be wrong, I could be completely wrong. Now, we do have a little bit of an instant there between Shelty and Dutchy. We were getting quite badly held up at this point, the strategy not quite working out. The whole idea of pitting was to get that clear track to try and jump Muscafi and some of the drivers up ahead, but we're getting, to be honest with you, we were getting really badly held up at this point. I won 30.9 there on lap 7, where we should be kind of doing low 30s. Going to try and go for the cut back on both of them. That's not going to quite work. We actually bumped Shelty through. He's going to go round the outside of Dutchy. We did think about going round the outside again ourselves as well, but not quite on. And yeah, I was getting a little bit frustrated now, I won't deny it. You know, the strategy is kind of falling apart at this point, as we are getting tangled up with some drivers who have not pitted. But a decent exit onto the back straight. We're going to go round the outside of Dutchy down into the fast right hand. A little bit of slipstream off Shelty, and hopefully we can get the job done here. Try and not lose too much more time. Of course, we're trying to jump those drivers that are going to be pitting on lap 10. But they're getting the job done there. Dutchy giving us the space, obviously realising that he was holding us up a little bit, which was again very much appreciated. Catching back up to Metal Ape Racer here in the Alfa Romeo as well. I think they might have been intending to pit there, I'm not sure, but again, just having to be really cautious there and kind of read the traffic. Again, losing a little bit of time, but certainly nothing too catastrophic. We do jump Muscafi, who's possibly ran into some kind of problems at some point in their race as they pit on lap 9. Then we'll just jump here to the end of lap 10 to see where we're going to end up as some of the other drivers, or the rest of the remaining drivers in front of us make that mandatory pit stop on lap 10. Obviously not changing the tyres. The vast majority of the field not changing the tyres here. You can see our tyres are round about that 50% mark. Obviously we will be losing a little bit of lap time, a little bit of degradation by this point, but certainly no issues with the performance of the tyres at this point despite not changing them. In fact, you can see we're doing personal best sectors here as we come towards the end of the race. Get a nice slipstream off Shelty as well, which would definitely be helping our case. But we're out 6 seconds off the lead. Tidgney has jumped to the front there. That lap 1 pit stop obviously working out very well for him. I think we'd have been fairly close, to be honest with you, without getting held up for the lap, so that we get held up there. But a P6 it was to be, 6.3 seconds off the lead. 2 Renault Megane trophies at the front, a couple of NSXs in P3 and P4, which is interesting. So possibly there is the potential for a decent selection of cars in this one. Let's quickly though cover the strategy in 30 seconds. Obviously just the medium tyres available. There is a mandatory pit stop in this one, but you will lose about 2.5 to 3 seconds in the pits if you change those tyres. It's Group 4, it's a very tight circuit, track position is very important, and to be honest with you, for a lot of cars, tyre wear is not a massive issue if you don't change the tyres. So the recommendation for this one is to not change those tyres. Now when you make that pit stop is going to be very just circumstantial to the race. If you're at the front and you happen to pit at the end of lap 1, it's only an 8-second loss. You're almost certainly going to pit into traffic. So if you're starting at the front, I think you have to stay out towards the end of the race. If you're at the back, of course, you have the advantage of making that lap 1 pit stop and having a much better chance of ending up in clean air. But with it being Group 4, it tends to be a very congested race, it tends to be very close. Finding that clear traffic, that clear track can be very difficult indeed. But if you can, that is how you're going to make up positions in this one. But yeah, a fairly simple race. It's not a bad race by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely think it could have been a little bit better. When I did a little bit of testing yesterday to see how the tyre wear was going to be, I personally thought the settings would be very, very nice for one of the longer 40-minute races. I would have suggested maybe something like 25 laps. I'd even have thrown the hard tyres in there as being available as well. Still have a mandatory pit stop, but then I could see a wide selection of strategies being possible. A 2-stop on the mediums, a 1-stop medium, a 1-stop hard medium, 1-stop medium hard. They'd be getting a lot of variation in there. Maybe even chuck a little bit of fuel consumption, fuel to be taken on at a pit stop required as well. And I think we'd had a really nice longer race. It's been a wee while since we did one, and I was a little bit hopeful when I did the testing yesterday that we might get hit with a 40-minute race here. But it's not to be. It's 11 laps. It's fairly simple strategy wise. There is a lot of fun to be had in it. So yeah, go out there, enjoy it. I do think it will become a 4-wheel drive fest though as the week goes on, but maybe I'll be wrong in that one. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully the video has been useful in some way, shape or form. Catch you in the next one. Goodbye now.